Hello everybody and welcome to Cam Goes Pony Answers 1,000 Questions, or questions from 1,000 subscribers, or whatever. Yeah, I'm finally doing the questions for the Q&A video. I was gonna do this sooner. I recorded my answers before, and I was gonna have them scheduled to upload while I was on vacation, but while I was on vacation I realized I forgot to schedule them, and on second thought I wasn't really happy with how the first recording turned out. Anyway, so I'm just doing it all again. So, yes, we will just dive right in. And the reason I'm doing this on a face cam is just because I was originally going to do something all nice and edited and pretty with my OC, but I just got so many questions that it would just be impossible. It would take forever to do that. So we're just going for the cheap face cam solution. Oh yes, and here's my cat. My cat. Its name is Comet. It will probably be hanging out throughout the throughout this video. Okay. Alright, we'll just dive right in. First question. Bubbles from Flipnote, that's actually their username, from Flipnote, okay, asks, do you like any anime? If so, what are your top 5? I'm not necessarily a big anime fan. I've only ever seen 2 animes in my entire life, and those are Attack on Titan and Soul Eater. And I like them both. I like Attack on Titan more, and they're both pretty good, so I can't really give you a top 5. I can just give you top 2, which is also all the animes I've seen. So, yeah. Alright, next up, Sweetie Bloom asks, what is your name? What is your quest? And what is your favorite color? Well, name, Cameron. Hi. You know, I don't really make much attempt to hide my real name. If you just go look at, like, my Twitter or DeviantArt or something, it's right there. Oh my god. I wave my hands and cat hair gets everywhere. Freaking cat. Okay. Alright, let's see. What is my quest? I don't know, maybe reach, like, 3,000 subscribers? Nah, I don't want to reach 3,000. I'd have to sing. So I'd have to say 2,000 subscribers. That's my quest. And my favorite color is orange. Okay. Storm Analysis asks, well, first he just asks what's the deal with my OC. And, you know, everybody asks that, of course. So I'll just say he asked it, and I'll just leave out the ones from everyone else. But, yeah, pretty much everyone asked that question. So, yes, what is with my OC? It's a brain in a jar, and it's controlling a robo-suit. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I just always really liked the idea of a brain in a jar and everything. I think it's cool, and it's definitely unique for an OC, and I like that. And oh, here comes the cat. Okay, get your tail out of my face. Okay. Storm Analysis also asks, what's your opinion on the backlash of Season 4? I think most of people's sort of negative opinions on Season 4 are kind of unjustified, because, you know, probably one of the biggest complaints I've heard for Season 4 is that, you know, Pinky's being all, ooh, flanderized, out of character, yeah. Well, but really, I don't see it, because people are saying that every time Pinky acts weird, and that is the essential part of Pinky's character right there. And I get the feeling that if most of these people just went back and watched, you know, old Season 1 episodes or something, they'd still be complaining about Pinky being flanderized or out of character or whatever. But, I mean, if she's been doing it all along, then it's not out of character. In fact, I've always felt that it's technically impossible for a character to ever be out of character, but that's a long story. Okay. He also asks, who inspires you, that's not your viewers, to keep on making videos? Okay, that isn't my viewers, that's definitely a tough question. I guess I'd have to say just the other analysts, you know. I see them doing it, and they're having fun doing it, and I want to have fun, I want to get my opinions out there, so just the rest of the analysis community, you know, apart from my viewers, is what inspires me to do this. Let's see. What would happen if you magically, for some reason, turned into a pony? What race would you be, and what would you look like? I don't know. I probably wouldn't be a brain in a jar unless I'm actually a brain in a jar in real life, which unfortunately I'm not. But I don't know. I'd probably be a unicorn maybe, but that might just be because I'm arrogant and everybody wants to be a unicorn or a Pegasus and nobody wants to be an Earth pony. So I don't know. What would I look like? I don't know. I only know brains in jars when it comes to ponies. Okay. Redcord CHN asks, so how did you become a brain in the jar? Yeah, so this is fun. I've always been sort of entertaining a backstory for my OC, which I've been meaning to turn into a fan fiction, but I've never really bothered to write it down, and whenever I do, I'm like, I write it down, look at it, I'm like, nah, it's no good, crumple it up, throw it in the bin. But yeah, so generally the idea, the sort of backstory for my OC is, you know, regular average Joe pony going along, then somehow gets in some huge, big, ridiculous industrial accident, you know, and then it's like completely pulverized except for the brain, which is somehow still in one piece, and then some mad scientist takes that and keeps it alive in a jar and gives him the robo suit, and I don't know, that's sort of my backstory, and I really like that backstory, and I think personally, you know, if I ever do get around to writing a fan fiction of my backstory, it leads to a lot of sort of development that I want to have from my OC's character, because something I've always... Man, I'm just getting, like, way off topic on this question here, but I'll keep going. So, the thing is that something I've always wanted to sort of be the character for my OC is that, you know, despite the fact that it looks very big and scary and imposing and big robot thing, you know, I always wanted to just be kind of like actually really sort of timid and, you know, really just wants to be treated like a regular pony again, but no one ever does because people just, you know, run away from him or are inherently scared of him and he doesn't like that. But yeah, so I really like this whole backstory thing, but the problem with that sort of backstory is that it's at odds with my OC's cutie mark, which... And the cutie mark kind of implies that it was like a personal choice that my OC did to himself. So that's kind of one reason I've been avoiding actually writing that story down. But, yeah. Okay. Redcord also asks, what are your thoughts on Equestria Girls 2, Rainbow Rocks? It's hard to say yet, because, you know, I've seen the shorts so far, and I've read the book that was released, and... The book and the shorts are both sort of a prequel to Equestria Girls 2, and that seems good, and the book was great. I definitely enjoyed it. But the thing is that it's almost just a complete story in and of itself, so I'm left... Oh my god, Comet, what are you doing? Okay, so it's really just like a complete story in and of itself, and it really just leaves me wondering, because I really have no idea what to expect from... from Rainbow Rocks proper anymore, and, oh my, cat, why do you do this? Okay, so, I really don't know what to expect from Rainbow Rocks proper anymore, because spoiler alert if you care, the book and the shorts and all, they all just cover, the formation of their band and everything, so I'm wondering, well, what is the movie going to focus on? What could it be? So... Honestly, I think it's too early to judge, but in general, I do like the general idea of there being a sequel to Equestria Girls, because we all know how much I loved the first one. Okay. He also asks, what do you think is in the mystery chest? I think whatever it is, it's going to be related to rainbow power in some way, because that's sort of all those toys and everything we've been seeing, and we've been getting hints about rainbow power around the same sort of time that we are getting hints about, Twilight turning into an alicorn and all of that. So I think it's very likely that whatever this whole rainbow power shenanigan thing is that will be whatever is going to happen in the Season 4 finale. So I think whatever's in the box will be something that gives them the rainbow power, which is going to be... I don't know, something they'll use because they don't have the elements of harmony anymore, and they'll use that to vanquish the villain or something. I don't know, but I do think that whatever is in the mystery boxes will definitely be related to rainbow power in some form. Okay, and let's see. Do you have a picture of what your OC looked like before the accident that put it in a robot suit? I don't have a picture, and I have not put much thought at all into what it looked like. The only time I ever really had to do that was when I was playing Legends of Equestria, and I had to sort of design an OC, and they didn't have an option for brain in a jar, so I just had to sort of design one. And, I designed a fairly simple pony, sort of gray coat, black mane with a ponytail. It's actually kind of cute. And that, I'm just going to go ahead and say that is what my OC looked like before the accident, because why not? Okay. The Hands of Fate asks, so how did you come up with your OC? I don't really know, I don't think there's any, specific place where I got inspiration for my OC. I think it generally just sort of came out of my own head. And, just from various things, I've always really liked the idea of being a brain in a jar. And, I just think that's really cool. I like that sort of science fiction-y bit. And, yeah, and really actually the biggest reason I went for that OC is because I can't draw faces. I couldn't draw faces when I made it, and I can't draw faces now. So, I had to find some way to make an OC without drawing a face, and, brain in a jar obviously isn't the only solution, as, another OC that comes to mind is, Regard DOOs, whose OC is, in a chair that's facing away from the camera, so you only ever see its hand, and I think that's actually kind of clever. It looks like a James Bond villain or something. I've always liked that about his OC. And, with that you don't have to draw a face, and that's kind of convenient. But I don't know, I wanted to do something really sort of original and unique with my OC, and I think I did that. Let's see. Okay. Cosmic Reaper asks, what is your cutie mark? The cutie mark on my OC is the transhumanism logo. I guess, since it's a pony, I guess I have to say, trans-horseism, trans-equinism, I don't know. Anyway, the idea of, the whole brain in the jar thing, that's kind of what transhumanism is all about. Sort of the idea of surpassing just, physical body and just... it's hard. Transhumanism's hard to explain, the whole idea of it, and I'd recommend just Googling it, because any definition you get from Wikipedia will be better than whatever I'll be able to say. But the whole idea is just sort of, considering the mind to be above, just the physical body, and if we can, surpass those physical limitations that the body has, then that would be the best. And that's sort of the whole idea of the brain in a jar, because he's still a brain. He's still, is functionally. Functionally speaking, he's still exactly like a pony, but he doesn't have those physical limitations. He's got, super robo strength and everything. So, yeah, I don't know, transhumanism is cool. Okay. The Doctor asks, how did you make your videos? I make my videos, if you're talking about, in terms of software, I use Audacity for recording the audio, and very occasionally I use Adobe Audition. I use that if it's a big collab or I have a whole bunch of audio. For example, the Doctor Who collab, I just opened up a project in Adobe Audition and then had 13 different tracks for the audio for each person involved. So, oh my god, can't just sit still, will you? Okay, and then for all the video editing, I use Adobe Premiere. I really like it. I recommend it, but it also costs lots of money. So, okay. Let's see. How did you design your OC in a computer? Well, let's see. There's 3 different iterations of my OC. Each one was designed differently. The first version of my OC was actually, I drew it on my 3DS here using the Colors 3D thing, and that's why it looks so crappy and horrible. And then I just edited out the background with that using GIMP. So that's why my first OC looks so crappy. Then my second OC looks a bit better because I just essentially traced my old, hand-drawn OC, and I traced it in Photoshop to clean everything up. And that looks a bit better, but just the general shape of it was still off. And then for the current, and hopefully maybe final even, generation of my OC. I made that in Adobe Illustrator, and that's great because it's all vectorized, so I can, scale it up to any resolution and it still looks amazing. And, for that, I completely redrew it. I traced it off of just, like an old pony base. What are you doing? Comment? Okay. No, she's... Okay. Let's see. What's next? How do you animate your videos? Yeah, I use Adobe Premiere, so it's not really animation like super fancy Flash animation, because I have Flash, but I just can't figure it out. I've tried animating my OC a few times. But yeah, so I just use Adobe Premiere, use the basic editing and keyframing features in that to do stuff in my videos. Okay. Who is best pony? Well, this question's inevitable. It's not the only time I've got, a lot of people ask this question. And it's tough. It's... oh my god, the cat's like... I don't know, it's like purring in my ear. Okay. I don't know why I brought you along for this video. I thought you were going to just be cute and not in the way, but... yeah. Okay. So, yeah, what was it? Oh, yeah, who is best pony? Yeah, it's a really close tie between Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, and I like them both for different reasons, really. I like Fluttershy kind of because she's generally more relatable, and, shyness, I like that, and can definitely relate to it, whereas Pinkie Pie I like because I really just sort of like her whole sort of philosophy on life of, of living to make others happy and to make others smile, and, she derives all of her happiness from how happy she makes others. And I just really like that. Like, I think that's pretty much the meaning of life right there, and Pinkie has it figured out. And I think that's just wonderful. Okay, what got you into the fandom? Okay, so, the way I got into the fandom, I always knew about the fandom for at least a year or so before it, I'd see pictures of ponies just on the internet, I'd be like, oh, those silly bronies watching My Little Pony, that's kind of cute. And the thing that really got me into the fandom was I saw this video on the PBS Idea channel talking about how bronies are sort of defying these gender norms in society, and, they're defying these stereotypes, but the biggest thing I took away from that video is when they mentioned that bronies are, they genuinely enjoy the show. Because I always thought they were just sort of into the show ironically, but, there they said that they like the show and that they think it's a genuinely good show. So, the night after I saw that video, I decided, well, okay, don't knock it till you try it. So I started up Netflix and, typed in My Little Pony, and the rest is history. Okay, let's see. How did you start making videos? I like to think that sort of landing in the analysis community was finally the last stop I made in searching for what I like to kind of consider like my fandom cutie mark of sorts. And I think, because I always wanted, ever since I got into the fandom, I wanted to be one of those people that contributes to the fandom in some way, because there's artists, musicians, fan fiction writers, everything. I've tried a lot of these. I tried a little bit of fan art. I tried writing some fan fiction, and, and none of them I could really do until, I saw the analysis community, and this was back when, pretty much the only two analysts were Digibrony and Brony Curious, and, I saw those, and I said, this I can do, this will be fun, I want to go out there, share my opinions, and this will be, this will be my role, my niche in the fandom, and then, through, and pretty much, like, the second I discovered Brony Curious is when I really started working on making my channel a reality, but, I wasn't able to get, I wasn't able to get everything together, get my first video out, and all of that, until, like, Digi essentially started the analysis subreddit and started a call for people to send them their analysis videos, and that really just opened the floodgates. That was the analysis community renaissance right there, and everyone flooded in, and I was among those people, and, you know, everyone, like, starting just within days of each other, and, you know, just so many analysts now, and I was, you know, it's great. I was part of those people, so, you know, I am a part of the analysis community, and that is my role in the fandom, and I think that's great. Okay, how did you get 1,000 subs? I honestly don't know. I mean, like, I guess I just kept making videos, and people liked the videos, and they said, I like this video, I'm going to subscribe, and then they subscribed. And, you know, it's kind of sad sometimes, because I look at some other people in the community, and even just other people just on YouTube who now have fewer subscribers than me, and these are people that, you know, I still, like, technically look up to. Like, you know, say, take someone like Cloud Cuckoo Country, who, you know, I have a little fewer, you know, I have maybe a few hundred less subscribers than him, but still, you know, I'm catching up to him, and that's scary, because, you know, he's a role model. He should be way above everybody else, and, you know, I don't know, like, if I surpass, you know, my role models and everything, I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, next question. How can I start making videos? If you want to start making videos, then, I don't know, I'd recommend finding some editing software that works for you, you know, and just start writing down your opinions and go at it. Like, you know, there ain't nothing to it but to do it, or whatever Granny Smith said in that episode, I forget. But, yeah, you know, just go at it, you know, learn how to use the software, find some good software, find some tutorials online, and do it. Okay, let's see. Next question. Can you believe I got through all my questions without mentioning Equestria Girls? Nah, I can't believe that. Then, what are your thoughts on Equestria Girls 2? Scoot it up, kid. Okay, but I already gave you my thoughts on Equestria Girls 2. Okay. Next up is Sarah Olt, who asks, if rainbows had a flavor, like in cartoons, what do you think it would taste like? I think they would taste like fruit sherbet. What would rainbows taste like? I don't know. Probably Skittles. I mean, they say taste the rainbow on it, and you know how it works. Like, they can't legally print taste the rainbow on their packages unless they have, like, a scientist go and check and make sure that they actually, like, scientifically taste like rainbows, otherwise it's false advertising. So they had to get a scientist to find out, you know, what do rainbows taste like, what do Skittles taste like, and then it's like, oh, it's close enough, so they can legally say, taste the rainbow. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Okay. Next question. If you play Pokemon, which was your first, and which is your favorite? Yeah, okay, so my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Ruby, and I still have fond memories of that. The first Pokemon I chose was Mudkip, and, you know, that was my starter right there, and, you know, that was great. My favorite Pokemon is probably, like, I don't know, Tropius, and I don't know why, I just like Tropius. I don't know. I like Tropius, and for reasons I cannot explain, I just like him, so, yeah. Okay. What was the first pony thing you came into contact with? Yeah, so as I said, you know, before I got into the fandom, I knew about the whole brony phenomenon for at least a year. So probably the very first pony thing I ever saw, probably would have been, like, a spray that I walked past while playing Team Fortress 2. That's most likely. Okay. Can you remember your first encounter with YouTube? Mine was Minecraft How to Survive and Thrive by Paul Soares Jr. That's interesting, actually, because, you know, before that I always, you know, I've watched YouTube just every now and then, seeing random videos, but I think the first time I really got into YouTube and, like, you know, subscribed to people and watched them regularly is actually the same answer as Sarah Old, which is Paul Soares Jr. Paul Soares Jr.'s tutorial series for how to play Minecraft, because, you know, that was sort of when, you know, I started watching that series because I was like, I don't know, do I want to get Minecraft? You know, this is back when it wasn't the third best-selling PC game of all time, but, you know, I heard about it was the sort of hip indie game at that point. I was thinking, do I want to get it? And I decided, well, here, this person is doing tutorials, so I figured if I watch some of these tutorials, it'll give me a good idea of what the game's about. So, you know, actually, I think we share just about the same start as YouTube. That's interesting. Okay. Let's see. Age of War 525 asks, what are your thoughts on Goat Simulator? I saw it on Steam, and it looks pretty funny. I haven't played it, and I don't know if I will, because the problem is, you know, it looks very fun and quirky and hilarious, and I'm sure it will be one of the most, if I play it, it'll be, you know, one of the most entertaining, like, 2 hours of my life. But the problem with those sorts of games, with the games that focus entirely on just being, like, fun and quirky, you know, they're only fun for about 2 hours at most, and then you're bored of them because you've done all there is to do. So, you know, I'm waiting for it to go on sale, but it definitely seems very interesting. And I like the fact that it's completely just satirical on the whole, hyper-realistic and, you know, simulation thing by making, you know, the least realistic simulation possible, and I think that's just hilarious. Okay. Let's see. Juan E. asks, if you're in Equestria and you can only eat the food there, what food would you miss from the human world? Most of it, because you know, they're all vegetarians there. Finally, the cat left. Okay. Because they're all vegetarians in Equestria, and I like meat. Sorry, don't want to offend any vegetarians, but yeah, so I'd pretty much just be reduced to eating pizza there, and I guess it could be worse, but, you know, I'll miss my hamburgers and tacos and all of that. Okay, let's see. And they also ask, how do you keep your horn attached to your head? Yeah, I don't know, for my OC, you know, if you look closely, you see the horn's actually kind of, like, wired straight into the brain. It has wires that, like, go, like, are rooted into it. Okay. Bjorn Bjornson asks, what is your favorite TV show besides Doctor Who and MLP? Okay. I have one other love in TV besides Doctor Who and My Little Pony, and that love is Sherlock. I really like Sherlock, and, you know, I should do reviews of Sherlock, too. Yeah, the problem is every time there's something I like, I want to do reviews of it, and I only have so much time, and that's a problem. But, yeah, Sherlock is great. Go watch it. It is my third favorite TV show of all time, and, you know, it's only, you know, it's one of the only 3 TV shows that I can really safely say I love. You know, there's My Little Pony, Doctor Who, and Sherlock, and those are my 3 loves of television right there. And then, of course, there's other shows that I like, but those are the big 3 right there. Okay. Cupcake Forever 100 asks, have you ever had anyone troll you on your page because of your OC or your videos? Yes, actually I've gotten a few troll comments. Most of those were on the Day of the Doctor video, which makes sense because, I mean, you know, Doctor Who fans comments like, oh, there's a review for Day of the Doctor, that looks interesting. And they click on, they're like, there's ponies, this is the worst thing ever. And, you know, there's 2 comments I remember on that, and I always love the troll comments, they make me smile. But one was just one that said, you all make my sick. And, you know, it had my sick, and, you know, they clearly didn't bother to double check their grammar. And then another one was just like, this would be great, but it sucks because it has ponies. And, you know, butthurt people just, I love them, they make my day. Let's see. Also, instead of MLP, what kind of cartoon/anime/TV shows do you like to watch? Okay, I already answered that. Do you have any game consoles? Yes, I have a Wii, and I already showed this, I have a 3DS. And yeah, and let's see, if so, what kind of games do you play on them? I don't play either of them that much. I do play on my 3DS some, you know, like if I'm going somewhere, like on a trip, you know, then it's good to have because, you know, it's portable and all that. And I guess I should mention probably my favorite 3DS games, and that would be probably Luigi's Mansion 2 and Animal Crossing New Leaf, which I played for about a month, and I do love Animal Crossing, but I had to just delete it and get out before it completely absorbed my life. And I want to start it again because I love Animal Crossing. It's a great game, but oh no, it just consumed my entire life. So yeah, and then for my Wii, I only ever play that, like the only game I ever play with it is Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and I only ever play that about 4 times a year, which is when my brother comes back from college and we play it together. Okay. Let's see. Dusk Noir 64 asks, do you read fanfic? Not as much as I would like to. Like, I really want to get into the whole fanfiction sub-community, because I'm sure it's great. I know for a fact there are some really great fanfictions out there that I really need to read. But as is, the only 2 fanfictions that I've actually read to completion, I've read all of them, is Rainbow Factory and the sequel to Rainbow Factory, Pegasus Device. And I did a review of Rainbow Factory. I enjoyed it more than I probably should enjoy a gorefic. It's a little bit disturbing, actually, because, you know, maybe I'm just a psychopath. But, yeah, I really liked Rainbow Factory, and I liked the sequel, too. And, you know, then, like, apart from that, there's 2 fanfictions that I'm currently reading through, and that's the entirety of my fanfiction experience. Those 2 fanfictions are Anthropology, you know, it's the classic Lyra one, and so far it's pretty fun, I enjoy it. And then there is another one I'm reading, I just started recently, is Starlight Over Detroit, and that's really cool. It's a sort of noir fanfiction. I always like the kind of noir genre, so it's a lot of fun. It's right up my alley. Okay, what else? Let's see. Dusk Noir 64 also asks, do you play Monster Hunter? No, sorry. And do you like fighting games? Sort of. It depends what you mean by fighting games, because if you just mean the classic sort of 2D fighting game, you know, where there's just, you know, 1v1, 2 people, and they go like boom, boom, kick, kick, dodge, block, block, you know, stuff like that. I don't really like those games that much, because I've never liked the controls, because I think just having to do like, oh, you know, do like triple half circle back B, B, A, and then you have to do all of that while you're in the air or something. I don't like it. It's really just cumbersome. That being said, I do definitely enjoy Fighting as Magic, just because of the, you know, the novelty of it, because, you know, it's ponies and it's fun. And, yeah, I'm so glad that Fighting as Magic is back now. And I've played a little bit of Skullgirls, which is another game like that, and it's pretty fun. And although for fighting games you just mean games like Super Smash Bros., if you mean that, then oh yes, I love fighting games, because I love Super Smash Bros., it's great. And, you know, it's sad that really that sort of couch multiplayer genre where you just sit next to the other person on the couch and you can totally throw all your quips at each other and hit them with the controller if you want. It's a dying genre, and that's sad. You know, and as I said, I always play Super Smash Bros. With my brother when he comes back from college, and that's great. Okay, let's see. Oh, we've just passed half an hour. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call this part 1. I have gone... Oh my god, I still have so many questions left. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna call this part 1, and I will see you again for part 2. Bye-bye.